For today's cup of coffee, we're going to do a little bit of UFO sighting reporting. And this comes from our very beloved Michael Yates. And Yates writes, a UFO sighting that is hard to describe in words, but I'll do my best. The year was 2008 or so. My wife and I celebrated our October wedding anniversary in a small village pub some 7 miles from our home. The village is located in a depression with an approach down a long, steep hill. After finishing our meal, we got in the car to go home. We were followed by another car leaving the car park. Climbing the steep hill, I noticed a beam of light over the brow of the hill. Thinking it was a car headlight on full beam, I slowed down to let it pass, as it was a narrow lane, but no car came over the hill. Upon reaching the top of the hill, we saw that the beam of light was in the sky. We wanted to stop, but the car behind pulled into the passing place, so we carried on until we found another pull-in about 50 yards further on. The occupants of the car that was behind us obviously wanted a better look as well. We went through a gate to a field, and this is what we saw. It was dark, but you could see low cloud cover. Imagine a cartwheel with a center hub and spokes leading out to a rim. There were 13 spokes, and a bright light emitted from the hub and traveled along each spoke in turn. As the light reached the rim, a huge horizontal beam shone out. The beam lasted for perhaps 8 seconds, then exhausted. Then a light followed the next spoke from the hub, and a beam shone out as before. We counted 13 spokes, each emitting a bright beam in sequence. Now we couldn't make out any craft or vehicle outline, as all this was above the low cloud, but we estimated the wheel to be well over a mile wide. We stayed there for perhaps 15 minutes, watching as it slowly drifted away from us, still giving off the light display. My wife could hear a very low buzzing sound that I did not. As we were walking back to our car, the car that stopped further down the lane started up and went by us. They had obviously been watching the spectacle as well. Fast forward 2 weeks, and looking for similar sightings on that night, I came across an article in Derbyshire newspaper with a person describing the very same thing at around 8 p.m. that evening, approximately 3 hours before our sighting. He was from a town called Belper, which is about 60 miles northeast from where we saw it. So the UFO had traveled 60 miles in 3 hours, or roughly 20 miles per hour. Today I was going through the newspaper archives and found a zoomed-in photo taken from a video of the same UFO that I saw. The woman took it in Derbyshire 3 hours before we saw it. She said it was light cloud and described it just as we observed it, though we had to guess at its shape. She saw it all. Here is a copy of the photo. Yates, this is an absolutely fascinating account that you've had, and the picture is just amazing. And when you had emailed me, the first thing that I thought of was Ezekiel and the wheels within a wheel. And, here in Ezekiel 1, you can go and read that for yourself. It describes something that he saw in the sky, which many have interpreted as a UFO. Well, UFO means unidentified flying object, so yeah, what he saw was indeed a UFO. Now, I have heard some scholars say that what he was describing was a structure made to honor dignitaries in that part of the world during Ezekiel's time. But my response to those theories would be, okay, but why is it in the sky? So I think that's a valid question. Also, we have in Acts 1 through 10, this details the account of Christ being taken up into the sky and covered by a cloud. And those who witnessed this event were told by 2 men dressed in white robes that suddenly appeared that Christ would come back the same way that he was seen going into heaven. Now, I'm not saying that Christ is an alien, but he definitely was not of this world, not totally. So there are so many things that we don't even have a clue about, but I have followed the UFO phenomenon in various and sundry ways for many, many years. And as a child, I was in elementary school, so I have no clue what year it was. Sitting at my grandparents, looking out the picture window, and I saw this silver cigar-shaped craft. It was very high. I didn't have binoculars or anything, but it was going across. I thought it was a plane until it stopped. And to my knowledge, planes can't just stop. And it stayed, at its exact location for several seconds before it started again. There was no kind of any kind of jet stream after it. So yeah. So Yates, that is absolutely fascinating. I appreciate you sharing that with us. Whatever you all have to share, UFOs, Bigfoot, if you want to do paranormal, supernatural, those are always, that's the hub of this this channel at this point. Any kind of strange happenings, even as far as the murder most foul, we'll take that. Send those to cupofcoffeewithscream@gmail.com. And also, if you just need someone to listen to you. And Yates expressed concern about how people would react to his encounter. And that is something, any type of paranormal, supernatural, UFO, any of that, people a lot of times react in a very negative way. And the reason they do that, it makes them have to question their understanding of life. And people get very uncomfortable when their paradigm is shaken. So at least if you contact us, no, we're not going to shame you. We're not going to do any of that stuff. Not going to make fun of you, tell you that you're foolish or anything like that. Your experience is your experience. So you all just ponder these things. Have a beautiful, blessed day.